normal individual does, and doing the business like a normal individual does. And then at that moment, I was pulling my pants up, and that's when I realized something that was charcoal and red, and it was flashy, and I thought I was bleeding to death. And I panicked, I pulled it up, and I went into my room, went back and forth. I didn't know what's happening. And at that moment, I figured that if I was dying or it was some disease, it's okay, I'll just move on. I was a kid. It happened once a month, second month, third month. I didn't tell my mother anything. I didn't know what it was. But maybe it was like a process of dying. So I just went on and it was all good until that moment when I was in a Scouts. I was almost 12 when this all happened. So I was in a Scouts organization, and they did these outings and camps. So I was on my way to camp, and my mother came in all of a sudden before the bus arrived, and she told me, "Why didn't you tell me that it was happening?" I stood there and I was eagerly waiting for a second question because I didn't realize what she was talking about. And then she said, "Why didn't you tell me you were having your period?" And that was when it all just came right in. I kind of understood why I was bleeding every month, and I wasn't dying. And at that moment, she slipped the pad for me, and she told me, now you're a woman. So I accidentally knew I was a woman, one. Two, what came along with it was the veil. So when my mother told me that since you're now an adult, at 12 years old, you must wear the veil. And ever since, I just, I was very obedient about it. I told her, okay, since this is what adult people do, I'll do it. And I put it on during camp, and when I came back, I just, removed it, because I thought it was just a thing, it will come and go. But there was this slight problem there, because my mother did not assume I would take it off. She told me, you must put it back on. It's something you go on wearing it your whole life. And when that happened, it hit me that I have no other choice. It was either, according to mother, hell or heaven through the veil. So I went on wearing the veil for many years to come after that. I went to school, and I remember the first day I ever went to school wearing it. Nobody recognized me, so I walked in, first label being invisible. So nobody knew who I was. I sat down, and there was my math teacher. And my math teacher was also veiled, but she was a very nice lady. And she looked at me and said, "Hey, are you new here?" And I just told her, "No, I'm just Ghada wearing the veil. It's new." And everybody stared at me. It was very embarrassing. But one thing that she did the second day that kind of gave me the first sense of someone understanding or trying to make me understand what I'm doing, she came up to me and she gave me a present. She gave me a veil that she said would match my school uniform, and that it would make me a bit more beautiful. And and that was very nice to me. I was very excited about that. And the story of trying to get other people to accept me alongside what happened with this teacher was very tough. Everybody would tell me that you can't do what we do. You can't go to the swimming pool like we do. You can't go, shopping for things like we do. You can't go out to these specific places like the rest of us. So all my high school years, I went on believing that I was different, but a different that was shone out. Someone who wasn't like everyone else, but not in a special way. So I went on feeling very insignificant until high school, where I thought I would change. And after high school was done and I went into college, which is usually known as the land of cultures, I still went on with the belief that many people will never understand what's going on. And the first example and most important example was the handshake for me. Because when my parents taught me, they said you cannot handshake someone from the other sex. So every time someone tries to get to know me and they say, "Hey," and then I would retrieve, it would be very embarrassing. and I end up, not meeting a lot of people or giving out stereotypes that I didn't really want to give. Up until last year. So it's been confusion from 12 years old to I'm 23, so 22, up until this year. This year, where the actual transition begins, I felt like I was always in a constant battle with transition until the actual turning point happened. There was this one day when I was really fed up with the veil. I was doing research, and I was on my desk, and it was very hot, and I felt like there was something suffocating me on my neck, and I really needed to let it go. It wasn't a piece of cloth, it was some kind of judgmental, symbolic representation of how I suffered all those years. And I remember taking it off in the room because there was nobody else. And then it struck me, why was I doing that? Why was I, wearing it in the first place? And that was when I started doing research on hijab discourse. That was when I began understanding why it happened. Where did it come from? Why is it different in different cultures? Why do some people wear it differently in some places and others don't? And that was when I decided maybe I should try a different type of veil. Maybe a different type of veil is a different type of me, which is a new me that nobody knows, that nobody would judge me for, because I get to represent what it is and construct it based on the type of person I want to be. And that's when I started wearing the turban. When I started wearing the turban, it was very confusing because I felt very ugly all over again. And I felt like I didn't know how to put it on. It was very confusing. And I felt everybody staring at me every time I walked on the street, and I wasn't sure if it was my veil, and many would call me like a sikh. Oh, you're being like those people. Why are you even wearing it? What does it matter? So up until when I was walking on the street one day, and two women in their 30s come up to me. Why do I know their ages? They told me that mid-conversation, but they stopped me. And I wondered, I was probably assuming that they either lost their way or they wanna, stop me and, stare at my turban and guilt me out of it. But they told me, hi, can you teach me how to wear your turban the way you do? And they were not veiled. They told me we want to wear the veil by the end of the month, and we want something that we feel comfortable in, and you seem comfortable in it. So I directly tried to explain to them and didn't really get it. So they asked for my number and for a meetup, and that was when it kind of blew my mind, because that was the moment when it all fell into place. I wasn't trying to wear something on my head or something in me because of what I heard about it from other people, from my mother, relatives, culture, society, but rather, wear this because I'm trying to find myself in it. I do struggle with it every single day. Every time I time myself when I'm trying to wear the turban, and the duration is taking less nowadays, which is a good thing. And with it, I felt a deep, peace with myself. I didn't feel like I was wearing something that other people told me about. I was wearing something I told myself about. And with that comes a lot of, realization that there is something called love, but not love of what you're wearing or pleasing people around you, but the love for yourself, who you are. So I'm on this path. I'm still in transition. I haven't left transition. It hasn't even, stopped yet. And I feel I'm going to transition this way my whole life, trying to change it as I please or as I feel most comfortable in. So, but with all along this, what's different in all my transitions before is the fact that there's some form of self-love towards the turban I'm wearing. That's it. Thank you.